Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Garden Roundtable. As you know, we're at the stage of lockdown 5. We're going to be entering. What does this mean for the country in terms of the medical crisis and also more importantly in terms of the economy? Certain measures have been taken by the government, but what more needs to be done? Are these enough? How do we kickstart the economy again? Joining me is Rajiv Pratap Rudy, BJP National Spokesperson, and Dr. Sanjay Baru. He is, of course, an author and a columnist and a policy expert. We shall also be joining by Rajiv Gowda from the Congress and Kalikesh Singh from the BJD. But Rudy, can you first begin by just explaining to us? I know you have to rush, so I will just give you the opening statement and let us all decipher what you mean by that. As to what the government has done so far and what are the intentions regarding the economy? So that is something that has really worried a lot of us.
You see, this shutdown was an unexpected one and a lockdown. No one in the world has witnessed how to handle a lockdown. So this is the first time ever in modern history that such a thing has happened. And it's an experience. So whatever decision governments takes can be retrospectively challenged. But whatever best decision had to be taken has been taken by the Prime Minister. And to mention you a figure of the countries which went under lockdown, it was 1.7 billion people, the countries across the world who went under actual lockdown. It was not Germany or it was not China and America. So that out of 1.7 billion on a complete lockdown, it was 1.4 billion was India and rest was rest of the world. Now to bring such a huge economy, which had already become a $3 trillion economy and was wanting to attain $5 trillion economy, and the government was batting on the front foot. All of a sudden this happened, a pause button. So there are challenges and there are challenges involved and the challenge is to create the supply side or create the demand. So unless and until the demand gets created, the whole supply chain would not be triggered and that is the biggest channel. But since we see the lockdown is still phased wise and the states have to play a bigger role in that, it would be very difficult to say that the supply which has been infused by the government, whether it's a 3 lakh crores for the MSMEs and 20,000 crores for the stressed assets or the expenditure which has been raised in Manrega and so forth and so on, would actually take a while before it triggers back to normalcy. And I don't see any normalcy going because the COVID has almost created a 38% slump in the core sector, and which is a huge as far as the economy is concerned. So keeping all that in mind, and I'm sure Rajiv, with his knowledge and Kalikesh with his forthright views, Mr. Baru, who has had a long experience in the government, would categorically look at the situation and we may agree or disagree, but at the end of the day, this was a government which people reposed a faith in this government from 282 in last 5 years. Mr. Baru may have an opinion that we are losing, we do not create a chain of trust and confidence. At the end of the day, this was 5 years good working, whether it was a GST or whether it was reforms in the financial sector, that we came back with a majority of 303. And we have taken many strong decisions prior to this COVID. And so I'm sure with pros and cons, the government and the Prime Minister has taken a lot of steps proactively, and the world has acclaimed his functioning, and no one has disagreed to his method of working on the COVID. When we started with the COVID, we just had one case. We manufacture more than 10 lakhs of kits every day.
So is this the right time to open up? You're opening up with the confidence that you have the tests in place. You do have, the safety nets in place.
Yes. Now that is a critical sector. The states are coming on board. That is the biggest challenge. So health should be the topmost priority. Social distancing aspects, but the economy has to be nudged back as fast as possible. And with all these constraints, the limitations would exist and it would take a while before we actually come back to normalcy.
But thank you so much for telling us. I know you do have to go, but if you have time for one more quick question, is the problem of the migrants. Do you think, and since you're from Bihar, I know that's a problem after your own heart. Do you think enough has been...
Yes. No. Again, this is a very sad state and a very sad story. And the migrants, I'm also from the state of Bihar and I'm a proud Bihari. But these states which are generally affected was Bihar, UP, West Bengal, Jharkhand, and Orissa, of course, for that and few more states.
Yes.
So there are rich states and there are poor states. And we never knew that so many people, I believe out of 12 crore population in Bihar, 3 crore people are out. And today the government of India saw 56 lakh people coming back to the state and were special trains which were run 4,000. They were bad incidents, but the total responsibility does not rest with the central government, because there were states which you had to send them, register them, and send them. There were recipient states, and there were states, and the nation had, and the government of India had to transport. So there were hiccups, but there were politics in that also. And I think 90% of the people, 95% people reached home, but they had to be quarantined in their respective states. So there was a lot of confusion between the states. But nonetheless, we have to look at it whether the glass was half full or half empty. And that is what, in such a situation, when you're moving a country, and when 2 crore people travel in a day on a particular day, no public sector enterprise in the world would be carrying so many people, and that is being blamed of not being efficient. So something wrong with, yes, decisions are taken. But last point which I conclude, look what 60 years of governance gave us. We, out of 117 principal commissionerates in the country which collect taxes, 70 are in 7 cities, and rest 60, 65 are in across the country. So the wealth of the nation is concentrated either in Mumbai, Pune, Ahmedabad, or Chennai, or Hyderabad, and this is how the country has been skewed. So this approach, this whole skewed activity, it reflects that the country has not grown horizontally or uniformly, and that is a policy decision which the Prime Minister mentioned this morning, that Eastern India and eastern parts have to be addressed. So there are issues, there are challenges. We will have to nudge forward with challenges ahead.
On that note, Rudy, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sorry that you have to go. If you can stay, I would love to have you actually for a little bit more.
No, I didn't go. I spent 35 minutes with you. You crashed, so I have to come back again and speak. So I don't have the urgency, but I mentioned that I have 40 minutes. I gave it to you. So all the best. And I'm sure the views would be there for others also. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, Rajiv, you heard the other Rajiv. He spoke a lot about what the government, he explained his stance. So your take, I know you've been writing a lot on what needs to be done, what steps the government needs to take. So, I would like you to come in on this.
See, Priya, first and foremost, we must understand that the economy has been in deep trouble over the years that Mr. Modi has been running the country. And the last, couple of years, we've been sliding into a deeper and deeper hole. The latest GDP figures have shown that before COVID lockdown actually was implemented, we saw that the annual growth rate is just in the 4%. And of course, that the last quarter, with the January quarter, was 3.1%. Okay, so these all, and even Pranav Sen argues that that's an overestimate. So basically, something is deeply wrong with the country and the way it's being run, the way the economy is being run. So whether we have a COVID lockdown or otherwise, the government had to do many things to revive the economy. And one of the ways in which an economy like India's can be revived is by boosting demand. That means getting people to have more spending capacity and the confidence to go out there and spend. Right? Now, today, as a result of the lockdown, you have a situation where people are desperately concerned about their future. Large numbers have moved back, were trudged and walked back in a Padayatra of the poor to their villages, and basically are worried about, when the government says we're going to increase Manrega payments, that means that they would need to have the strength to go out there and do the physical labor over a period of months to be able to earn that resource. Right now, what the government needs to do is to actually put money in the hands of the poorest of the poor, increase the amount of food. We have abundant stock in our warehouses, and give that to people. Well, and we need to waive some kind of the loans that are facing our small businesses so that they don't fold, because not only are there millions of small businesses that are hurting deeply as a result of the 2-month plus lockdown, but they also employ a large number of people. And it's not just businesses folding, it's people's livelihoods disappearing. So basically, the government really needs to step up and do something tangible. The larger 20 lakh crore package idea is really what you might call, if you were uncharitable, a jumla. Okay, so basically, it's focused on supply side credit increasing measures. It's not putting hands of people, which is vitally necessary at this point to repair and heal the economy and get people to start spending again, which will have a multiplier impact and help the country's economy revive.
Okay. Dr. Baru, thank you for waiting so patiently. Your take on, what the current economic situation, what needs to be done, and also on your analysis on what has been done so far.
Well, Priya, let me begin by saying that what is happening today in the economy is a continuation of a long-term problem, which is that there is inadequate trust on the part of investors and consumer savers in the future. I am an old-fashioned economist who believes in the importance of what economists call expectations. People behave on the basis of expectations. If you think tomorrow your income is going to be more than today, you will borrow and spend because you can pay that loan. If you think tomorrow the economy is going to do better than today, you're willing to take risks as an entrepreneur because you feel that the future is a positive one. I think we have been in the last few years in a phase of negative expectations, and the COVID lockdown has made it worse. And as Mr. Gowda has just said, so far, whatever the government has done is superficial. There has been some attempt at addressing the supply side by reducing interest rates or reducing tax rates. All these are supply side supports. But at the end of the day, there's a problem of demand. And the problem of demand is a long-term problem. It's not suddenly after the lockdown that this problem has come up. We have seen a decline in overall growth. So what I would hope is that this government uses the crisis as an opportunity to completely revamp its approach to the economy, approach to the polity. I mean, just a couple of days back, the government was spending the end of the first year of its second term. What was the focus of the first year of the second term? Citizenship amendment? Was that the most important priority for a government having come to Parliament, as Mr. Rudy correctly said, with more support from the people of India? You have the numbers in Parliament. The problem was the slowing down of the economy. All the numbers show that the economy is not doing well. Instead of boosting confidence, we have further hurt confidence in the ability of the government to manage the economy. So I think there's a need to recognize all is not well. All is not well with India. Once you recognize that, then you will seriously address this on a long-term basis. Now, coming specifically to the lockdown, I agree with the view both Mr. Rudy and Rajiv have said. You have to lift the lockdown and restore normalcy, except in areas where you have severe spread of COVID, and therefore some containment zones are announced. But yet also that COVID is going to be around for a long time. The other day I heard a very senior member of the government saying on a television that the biggest problem the government is facing is fear. Who caused the fear? Who is responsible for the fear of COVID? I would say from Prime Minister down, the message of the government over the last 3 months is that, save your lives, stay at home, lock yourself up, don't touch anybody, don't do anything. I mean, the fact is that as lockdown is lifted, people will move around, COVID will spread, there will be increase in number of cases. That's the new normal. As we develop a new vaccine, only after that the curves will actually come down. So messaging has been a big problem. And as I seriously believe that both in politics and in economics, communication is the essence of policy. What do policymakers do at the end of the day? They're communicating ideas to the people and expecting economic agents, whether those economic agents are consumers or investors, to respond to those economic signals. So I think there's a big signaling problem, and I believe that the economic situation is in a far worse situation today than 3 months back.
Wow. Kalikesh, I think the first problem is to acknowledge it. Do you think that the government has done enough to even acknowledge the problem, let alone address it after that? Kalikesh.
I think the government has been forced to acknowledge the problem now.
Right.
There was a general sort of tendency to sort of say there was no problem, and go with a very strong branding and marketing technique, which this government is particularly good at. But with COVID coming on the situation, and obviously the economy worsening much more than what it was a few months ago, I think government has acknowledged it, partly because they are allowing the blame to go on COVID. They can blame.
They've got an alibi.
There's an alibi. What can we do? COVID's come. I think even before COVID, there are some serious issues that we should have dealt with, and such as land, labor reforms, trying to get some liquidity into the business, creating a environment of confidence, of optimism versus pessimism, as Sanjay pointed out. I think these are critically important things that we needed to address, and the government had addressed that before COVID. Some of it they've tried to push in during the pandemic. And these are good things. Some land labor reform laws are starting to come in, and hopefully in the next few months more will come in. But as I was saying, as I've always been maintained, these are too little and too late. With COVID, the global economy is also taken a tank. And to make India relatively more competitive, we've got to do a lot more. Reducing corporate rates for MSMEs from 30% to 25% will not give. It still makes, with a 12% or 10% interest rate, one of the most expensive places to do business. India is still that, and given the inefficiencies in the economy as a whole, I think a lot more needs to be done. The banks don't lend, irrespective of what credit guarantees or what orders come from the finance ministry. The banks are too scared to lend. There are very little viable businesses given the state of demand today. So unless demand is restored, supply side reforms won't help. And we have to at some point in time go into direct cash transfers, as I think maybe Rajiv was sort of advocating. The money needs to go to the hand of the people, confidence needs to be restored, and people need to start spending again. We are not an export-driven economy like China. We can come out of this issue, but with some smart and sensible economic reforms, and not marketing blitzkriegs and catchy phrases. I don't think hashtags will work.
That is one thing. Yes, unfortunately, Rudy had to leave. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have rebutted that one. But Rajiv, at least we're having a conversation where we can come up with some constructive points that can be taken on without scoring partisan points. What are the sectors, Rajiv, that can be addressed, which needs focus? Tourism, aviation is an obvious one. Yes, you've talked about Narega, but otherwise, where else should the government be focusing its efforts on?
See, tourism, hospitality, etc., are a real challenge, because even if you provide some kind of resource support to airlines and to hotels and others, it's not clear that people are necessarily willing to go out there and travel. And even those of us who need to travel are thinking twice because of all the quarantine-related complications that exist currently. But to save those industries, you obviously need some kind of an intervention. And but when you think about the much larger sectors of the economy, if you think about the rural economy, there, enhancing the amount that is allocated to Manrega and then ensuring that you have 200 person days given to each individual in a family, rather than 150 per year to a family. Right. So that's one of the ways you can change things. Of course, the direct cash transfer, like we've introduced the Nyay program equivalent in Chhattisgarh. A similar allocation of food grains, because people just need to stop worrying about survival. They need to stop being desperate, and they need to start thinking that there is a future after this. And there is going to be a problem, because since we allowed migrants to go back home much later rather than early on in the system, there is going to be more spread and community spread of COVID, which will have its own impact in terms of creating chaos and confusion in the countryside, which could have been avoided earlier. Now, small businesses, which are large, which cumulatively employ a large number of people, they need to survive, and they need resources So one way is to provide them some kind of a loan waiver, not just a moratorium, but actually a waiver. And something similar, I would say, even for the startup sector that I see around me in Bangalore, where both the private sector and the government should step up and work out some kind even of an equity play if need be to save our startups, because they are used to failing in the face of competition and innovation, not in the face of a virus. So this is something that we should not let that innovative risk-taking element amongst our youth basically collapse because because of this the threat that we're facing. Along with this, there are numerous other initiatives that we need across industrial areas. For farmers, we need to restore supply chains. There are certain measures that have been taken, which are positive and negative. There's a certain amount of confusion about but we have to open up interstate ability of farmers to be able to sell across states, etc., and through whom get rid of monopolies and allow much more freer market competition, etc., without, of course, allowing farmers to be exploited. So these are just some of the main thrusts, but otherwise, you have.
I'm going to cut you short again, Rajiv, because time is an issue. Okay,
print some money, go out there and spend it so that people have the resource, and don't worry about rating agencies or fiscal deficits. This is the time to revive the economy, and it will pay off. Okay, rather than having a big problem a few months down the line.
Dr. Baru, would you like to add something?
No, it depends on how much time you have. Because I can simply say I agree with Rajiv Gowda and Kalikesh.
No, you can say a little more than just agreeing with him. We have about
save your time. So I really don't have much to say. But one issue, which is very important, which has not come up in our discussion, is the whole issue of center-state relations. I think we have moved from one extreme of a highly centralized approach to this problem, with the Prime Minister addressing the nation repeatedly and kind of controlling everything from Delhi, to another extreme where states are being allowed to do what they like. You need a coordinated approach between center and state. You need a federal policy. You need assertion of federal principles. And I think as the lockdown is lifted, this is extremely important. Otherwise, you're going to have an India divided across many states.
And also, we do have time for one quick question. Can I ask you, Dr. Baru, that who do you think is going to take the blame for this, of anything that went wrong, or the credit? Will it be the Prime Minister, or will the buck be passed to the state CM?
I think the entire government system will have to take the blame. It's unfair just to say one, central government or state government. The problem of migrants is a national problem. Many states have failed. I think the only state that has come out of this whole lockdown with some reputation intact is Kerala. Otherwise, or probably Goa. By and large, most Indian states have not delivered as effectively as they should. But I've always said that India is cursed by what is called the Murphy's Law, which is if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. In India, Murphy's Law acts with vengeance. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And that is what we have seen.
As we saw in the earlier recording of the show, which crashed, but hopefully in COVID times, we'll get a second chance. Kalikesh, I'll leave you to wrap up with the final words as to, your takeaway from this, and also what else do you think can be done?
So look, one thing is very clear, that our state systems are very inadequate to handle pandemics such as these. I mean, we've been speaking in Parliament for the longest time about raising, funding for health and education. And these are so-called softer targets for the government. And, you've seen the result of that. I mean, the reason we had to have a strenuous lockdown was because we feared we wouldn't have enough ventilators or, oxygen supports, respiratory systems. It was easy to build up hospitals and quarantine centers. I wouldn't call them hospitals. If you make a panchayat house a hospital, it's really a quarantine center. And that's really what you need, with 80% of the people not being asymptomatic. But the fact is that we just didn't have enough tests. We couldn't get them out far enough. We didn't have enough ventilators, and which is why our governments were in panic and not knowing what to do. I think the day this had come on in Wuhan, we should have realized this could come to the shores of India, and we should have gone and attacked it in such a manner. As far as the economy is concerned, look after the MSME people and the small scale sectors. You've got to create liquidity, and an interest doesn't do it. If I'm going to shave off my, my EMIs for a few months and pay a huge penalty on that of almost 2% or 1.5% every month, it doesn't do it. It's going to take a year or two for the economy to revive, and the government has come up with some long-term fiscal measures, medium-term fiscal measures, and not these, little liquidity scringes in between. We've got to start generating employment by pushing sectors like textile, like construction, things which have a large-scale impact on employment, tourism, of course. And of course, these sectors also have to sort of reform. They've got to change the way they sort of function. They've got to use better safety methods in there. But yes, the government has to play a major role. The government has to inspire confidence in the economy. That's something which is sorely missing right now. And I don't see enough of that happening despite the Prime Minister's 20 lakh crore stimulus.
And that is one note I think that at least 4 of us here agree on. Rudy, of course, would have disagreed. And for the interest of our viewers, we had recorded an earlier show which crashed, which is why the BJP spokesperson had to leave. And on a more personal note, on the economic side, here are my 2 bits that I think in order to spur demand, maybe the Prime Minister should look at some income tax reductions also, cuts rather, not reductions, to help us spur demand. But that is it. I'm sure we'll have a whole lot more conversations like this. Thank you so much for joining us, and also thank you for watching this show. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching our show.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.